Hello and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and today we're going to talk about selling our books. First of all, apologies. My boys have some friends over and I asked them to keep it to a dull roar. They're on another level of the house with the door shut, but it's a whole bunch of teenage boys. So apologies to start with. If you're new here, it's not always like this. Anyway, this is also the third time I'm trying to film this video, and the first two were just fails for one reason or another. So we're trying again, third time's a charm, and teenage boys, noise and everything, we're gonna go for it this time. What happens, happens. This is gonna be the video that makes it to the world, okay? So I wanted to talk about selling books, and I wanted to share with you my favorite way that I recently discovered for selling my books and giving you some tips and ideas that might help with selling books in general and best practices kind of thing. So what is it? What is my favorite way of selling books that I recently discovered, and the way of selling books that nets me the highest gain possible, in my opinion, from all the things I've tried so far? Well, this may surprise you, but it is, in fact, Facebook Marketplace. I recently discovered Facebook Marketplace. Hi there, Editing Ann here. I had originally intended this video to be charming, delightful, informative, and instead we have chaos. We just have chaos, but that's okay. Like I said, whatever happens, this is going live. There's my oven buzzer. One moment. Sorry about that. So, as I was saying, I had intended this video to be all of the things that it is not. Instead, we have chaos erupting everywhere. What I intended to say, before I interrupted myself, was that I discovered buying and selling books on Facebook Marketplace, but I didn't just discover Facebook Marketplace. I mean, I've been on Facebook since the beginning. I'm an old timer on Facebook, so I've been aware of Facebook Marketplace. I've used it many times to buy furniture, household goods, accessories, clothing, etc. I have used Facebook Marketplace many, many, many times, but for some reason, it did not occur to me until at some point in the past year that you could buy books on Facebook Marketplace. And then it took a little bit longer for it to occur to me that you could also sell books on Facebook Marketplace. So I'm a little slow, but I'm not that slow. I've been aware of Facebook Marketplace for a long time. Just wanted to clarify that. As a place to buy books, although to date, I haven't actually bought any. I've browsed quite a few times and I've thought about it, but I haven't actually bought any. However, I have had great success in selling my unhauled books on Facebook. Why? Why Facebook? Okay, I've tried a few things. Like, I sell books to used bookstores. We have a couple of big chains around here. I have a smaller independent used bookstore in my town, and about 30-minute drive from my house, there is another used bookstore that will actually buy an entire box of books. Whether they like the books in it or not, they'll pay you for the whole box, and then they have ways of getting rid of the extra books. I'm not actually sure what they do with them. Maybe they recycle them or something. I'm not even sure, but they will pay you for all of the books in your box. Not a lot, like just pennies on the dollar, but they will pay you for all the books in your box and take them off your hands. So I have done that. I have sold books at yard sales or flea markets with varying degrees of success. And I have sold books on Pango Books with some success as well. But Facebook Marketplace has been the easiest by far and the most profitable for me. So here's why. First of all, I don't have to mess with shipping. I could if I wanted to. I could open up my books to be able to sell them and ship them anywhere in the country. And I may do that at some point. But at this point, so far, I've only done porch pickup for local buyers. and it's worked out perfectly. So I don't have to mess with shipping. I just put them in a bag, arrange with the buyer for pickup, set it on my front porch. They put the money in an envelope under my mat. I have taken online payment, but I prefer not to because I've been scammed with that before. So I only do that in very special circumstances. And if I feel like I can trust the person who's buying. Pretty rare. It's only happened once, maybe twice. So I just put my books out there. They pick them up, easy peasy. You know, sometimes people are flaky and they don't pick up the books up and you have to rearrange a time or whatever. Things like that happen for sure. But by and large, it has been the easiest way for me to sell books. And in fact, I have gotten at least $5 for each of the books that I have sold used, which is quite a bit. If you take your books to a used bookstore, you know, that goes through your whole collection and they give you a receipt. In my experience, it's not typically been itemized. I guess probably you could ask for one, I don't know. But they usually just give me a lump sum and it's usually in store credit. And for an entire box of books, that might be $20, $25 of store credit. And it would be less than that in cash. So definitely not getting $5 a book then in that case. And in the case of Pango books, I may or may not get that much for a book. I find that other sellers on Pango books tend to lowball their pricing, which makes it difficult to get the actual market value of a used book on Pango books, which can be a little bit frustrating. Whereas on Facebook Marketplace, I think in part because people don't have to pay shipping on top of the book price, they're willing to spend $5, $6, $7 on a used book in really good condition.
Well, hello again. It's me, Editing Ann. Just popping in to say what I forgot to say, which was that one other benefit of Facebook Marketplace and getting more money out of it is that you don't have to pay any fees. On Pango books, they automatically deduct a fee every time someone purchases a book. Same with eBay. You have to pay fees on eBay if you were to sell books there, or on any of the other online platforms. Facebook Marketplace, no fees. So all of that money goes into your pocket, whatever you are asking. So now I hope Editing Ann does not have to make any more appearances in this video because my hair gets worse every time I come back on here. So it's not gonna be pretty if I have to come back here again. So here's hoping the rest of it is everything it needs to be. Back to the chaos.
How do I go about selling my books on Facebook Marketplace, and what are some best practices and tips for being the most successful? Now, I'm still learning, so I'm sure that I will learn as I go along. Maybe in another year or two, I'll make another video with some more helpful tips, but here's what I've learned so far. First of all, don't sell one book at a time unless you have a really special book for one reason or another. Either it's like a hot book, like a hot, really buzzy book that a lot of people are going to want. That is like a special edition of some kind, maybe with painted edges or something like that. Or if it is a rare classic, a special edition of some kind that is, you know, you're going to price it a little bit more than your average run-of-the-mill used book. Don't sell just one book at a time, with those exceptions. And don't sell too many at one time. I've seen all kinds of listings on Facebook Marketplace, and I think that they may be reaching different sectors of the market. I don't think it's super helpful to put like a whole shelf of books up and say, I'm selling this whole collection of books for the lump sum of $100, or you can buy a book for $2. And then there are no pictures of individual books, or there may be some pictures of chunks of the books, like, you know, this many books and this many books. You're left going like this, zooming in the pictures, trying to see what the titles are. You can't see what the condition is. You're not going to go to this person's house and buy like a bunch of books sight unseen and hope for the best. Not if you're just a reader. You would have to be someone in a retail kind of situation where you're going to be doing something else with those books. And so it's worth a little bit of financial risk for that. So I think large lots don't work very well. I have seen people post pictures, like it's one picture, it's a box full of books. And it's, you know, they're selling grandma's library and there's a box full of books. $25 for all, $50 for all. and there's no way of knowing what's in them. They don't list the books in them. They don't say what condition they're in. Like a lot of times the books, they're not technically, they're just jumbled in there. There's no way I'm going to be purchasing that personally. There are some people who might be looking for that sort of thing, not me. So I am trying to cater to the sort of customer that I think the average reader would be, because that's who I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach people who are actually going to read my books and take a genuine interest in the books that I'm trying to sell. So that's who I'm marketing towards. So to that end, I am going to take 5, 6, or 7 books, and they are usually in the same genre or type of category. The most popular one seems to be when I put 5 to 7 like buzzy books together, like recent book of the month titles or bestsellers from the past 3 to 5 years, perennially popular books that always people want to read, and someone either read it and they loved it and they don't have a copy, or they're like me and they're late getting around to reading the books that were really popular 10 years ago, whatever. When I have like 5 to 7 popular buzzy titles, I take a picture of them. I take an overhead picture of them, of their front covers, and then if I want to have a different price for each of them, which I do sometimes, and it's usually $3 if it's in less than excellent condition, $5 to $7 for excellent condition, unless it's a really special edition book. And then I will put the price, like I will edit the photo and put the price on top of each book so it's clear how much each one is. Or sometimes I'll just have a blanket price of $5 per book, and I'll put that in the listing. But whatever the case is, I try to make it very clear how much I'm asking for each of the books. And then I take an individual photo of each book and include that in the listing. I also, if the book has any markings or writing in it, or dog-eared pages or spine creased or something, I make note of that so they can see the quality of the book that they're getting and decide if it's worth it for them. So typically what happens is people usually buy my whole lot. I actually haven't had anybody say, I will buy that one book from that lot. If that were to happen, what I would do is I would again edit the photo and just cross out the one that sold, so the remaining ones are still there, and then people can, go from there. But usually what happens is people message me and say, hey, can I have that whole lot for, let's say, $25? So if I have 5 books, $6 each, let's say, can I have it for $25? Or if I have 5 books marked at 5, let's say, can I have it for 20, whatever. They, try to negotiate. And I'm usually pretty willing to do that, unless they really lowball it and say like 5 for 5. And I'm like, no, then that's perfectly fine. I'm still making a profit typically off of those books. They're just usually books that I'm just getting rid of. Or books that I bought for the purpose of reselling on Facebook Marketplace. I'm gonna get to that in a minute. In my experience, unless someone lives in your neighborhood, they're not going to want to drive out of their way 5 or 10 minutes just to get one book, unless it's a book they've really been wanting. They'd much rather just pick up a bunch of books. I think a lot of times it's a convenience issue for people in my area. Your area may differ in that regard, but in my area, I feel like that's a lot of times what happens. The lot of 5 to 7 books seems to be the sweet spot as far as what people will be wanting to purchase. Now, I typically try to sell only popular books on Facebook Marketplace, or like books that have been recently popular within the last 3 to 5 years, or perennially popular books that have maintained popular interest for the past 5 to 10 years or so. I also put classics on there and I group those together. That would be a genre, like I have 5 or 6, 7 classics in one lot, and that seems to be fairly popular. If I have a whole bunch of, let's say, historical fiction, I will put that in one lot. Or if I've picked up quite a few like suspense novels, I will put those in a lot. So you can type them, you can group them by the types of books that people might be interested in, fantasy or romance or whatever. Sell a lot of like books at one time, and they will be much more likely to buy the whole lot from you. So when you go to make your listing on Facebook Marketplace, here are a few things to keep in mind. Number 1, take pictures with the best lighting possible, the best lighting you could possibly do. Take the best picture that you can, edit it so that it's really clear and a bright picture so it's easy to see with the books and the titles and the condition that they're in. Always take photographs of any kind of flaws in the book so people know what they're getting into. Always add precise information. Be precise about your pricing. Use keywords in your listing. Include as much of the information as you can about the books you have on offer in your listing so it's obvious. Popular hardcover books in excellent like new condition or something like that. And then in your actual listing, be sure to include the titles so that if someone is searching for a specific title, then your listing will come up in their search. Also include any extra notes in addition to your pictures about quality issues. So if there are no quality issues, then you can say all of these books are in excellent like new condition. Or you can say such and such a book has some bent pages or has a crease in the spine or whatever, just so people know what they are going to be paying for. And also include the pickup or shipping information depending on what you're going to offer. So far, like I said, I've only done porch pickup, so I say porch pickup in my town. And don't put your address there, wait until someone contacts you, and then you can give them your address once they have confirmed that they will be stopping by at XYZ time to pick up your books. I personally do not take electronic payments on Facebook Marketplace because I have been scammed before, and that's something that I learned from other people. So if I have been having conversation with someone and I can tell that they are a genuine buyer and they're not trying to scam me, which has happened, and there's a situation where they would prefer to do an online payment, I will do that. You can use PayPal or Venmo or Zelle. A lot of people prefer Venmo or Zelle, whatever, Cash App, whatever you use. I don't like Cash App personally, but whatever online payment service you use, you can use that with them. But typically I say cash only, and I have them put it in an envelope under the mat. And so far that has worked perfectly every time. I've never had anybody just take the books and not leave money. Every single time it has worked for me, and they've put the correct amount of money in there. So that works best for me. That's what I prefer to do. When it comes to choosing the books to sell on Facebook Marketplace, I like to stick to books that are in really pristine condition. If I were to sell books that were in less than stellar condition, like this book, for example, it's not in terrible condition, but it's obviously been used. There's some marks, scuff marks here on the cover. There's some fraying on the edges of the cover. I think this one has, it has some pencil writing on the inside front cover. The corners are a little bit bent. So it's obviously been used, right? So this is not in pristine condition. So if I had quite a few books that were similar in condition to this in a similar genre or whatever, I would group them together, but I would give them a lesser price, like maybe $3 or $4 at the most. But for books that are in excellent condition, I would charge $5, $6, $7 for those. Let me show you an example of a book in excellent condition. So I have this Ladies of the Lake book, which I bought at a book fair last year directly from the author. And it's in perfect condition. It hasn't been cracked open. It hasn't been bent. The spine is not creased. There are no markings on the pages. Nothing is bent. Nothing is fraying, nothing is worn. So this is in pristine, excellent, like new condition. So now this is not a super popular book. I doubt I would get more than $5 for this, but if it were a super popular buzzy book in excellent condition, I could probably ask a little bit more and someone would probably be willing to pay it. But $5 seems to be the comfortable price for an average book for most people on Facebook Marketplace. When you are making arrangements with an interested buyer, do keep on top of them. Some people will not message back. Maybe they're still thinking about it. Maybe they forgot about it. Maybe they don't know when they'll be able to stop by, whatever. But do keep on them, not like in a nagging way, but if a day goes by and they haven't responded, just message back and say, are you still interested? Just so you know. And only mark it pending when they have confirmed a time for pickup and you've given them your address and you know they're going to be coming and picking up, let's say tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, then you can mark your listing as pending. And once they've picked it up, then you can mark it as sold. But don't mark it as pending until they've actually confirmed and committed to coming by and picking it up. If they're just in conversation with you, assume that the sale is not going to go through until they make actual arrangements. Even then, sometimes it can be iffy. Don't forget to mark your listing as sold when it's sold. because inevitably you will have people messaging you a week or two after the fact asking if it's still available. Ask me how I know. So don't forget to mark it as sold when it's actually sold. When you are selling books and putting them on your porch for pickup, do package them up so that they are not ruined by the elements. Again, ask me how I know. I had a lady say that she would come and get the books, and I specifically asked her, will you be able to pick up in the morning? Because I knew I would be gone all day and I knew it was supposed to rain in the afternoon. And she said yes. So I just set them out in the morning in a bag. They were in a bag, and they were like sort of half under, the awning, but sort of half not. And so, yeah, she didn't come at all. And so it rained. Now, thankfully, because it was somewhat protected both by the bag it was in and the awning, only the top book got a little bit of water damage. The rest of them were fine. But I was like, lady, thank you so much. Like, thank you. Really appreciate that. So, that sort of happens. Dangers of the business, hazards of the business. But I learned my lesson, and now I will wrap all of the books in a plastic bag first, and then maybe put them in like a Trader Joe's bag or something else, to give them to the customer. That way they will be at least protected from the elements, just in case. You never know what's going to happen. A bird might fly by, So best to protect the merchandise as much as possible. The other thing is, when I go to list my books for sale, I always remove any stickers or anything like that. If I get it at a thrift store or something like that, a lot of times there might be a little colored sticker on the spine indicating, what, because they use that for their inventory control so that certain colors are on sale that have been there for more than a couple months or whatever. Or if there are stickers from Thrift Books or Better World Books or some other seller or whatever stickers there are. If there are any stickers on the book, use a hairdryer to loosen up the adhesive, hold it there, hold it still for, count at least to 10 to 15. Then you should be able to easily peel the sticker off. If there's any residue left, because sometimes the stickers are stubborn, let it dry and then get a rubber eraser and then gently erase it. But be careful if you have a soft cover book or a slip cover. If you are too rough with your erasing, you might crinkle or wrinkle the cover. So just be careful with that. Just very gently with a rubber eraser, erase the remaining residue, and your book will be good to go and in perfect mint condition. So always do that little bit to help increase the value of your book and make it so that you can offer it for the most that you can get back from it. Why Facebook Marketplace over others? I find that I just don't get a lot of traffic in my Pango shop. That may be because I don't advertise it too much, but I've had tons of people like put books in their cart or on their shelf, but then never purchase it. And so I don't know, I've had a lot of people come through my shop, but actually clinching the sale, even when the books are priced bottom dollar. So sometimes if I put them on a sale, I will generate more sales, sometimes not always. I haven't had tremendous luck with Pango books. And also I find that other users on Pango books tend to lowball their pricing, and it's not at market value, which means that I don't get as much for my books as I think they're worth, because people won't buy my books when they're priced at higher than what other people are pricing the same exact book on Pango books. So that would be my other tip that I forgot to mention earlier. Before you ever list your books and set your price, check what the going rate is on places like Thrift Books or Better World Books or other online used book sellers for a similar condition to your book. See what other people are pricing it at, because that's what the market will bear. That's what people are willing to pay for your book. So that average those out, and that's what you should price your book. And that's why I come with, for the books that I'm selling online, typically between $5 to $7, maybe as much as $10 for a really, really special hardcover. I think I have a Kristen Hanna one that is $8 or $10, I forget, because that's what people will be willing to pay for that one. But most of the time, it's around $5, somewhere in that ballpark. So do a little bit of market research before you price your books, and so that you're not lowballing yourself and getting the most out of your effort that you can. And then you can take that money and use it for other books, or like me, you can put it in your travel fund, or your rainy day fund or your coffee fund or whatever, your fun day fund. However you want to use that little extra pocket money is up to you, but you want to make sure you get the most of it while still offering a fair value to your potential customers. Anyway, so that was my last tip. Forgot about that one. So now to the comments. If you have any other suggestions for buying on Facebook Marketplace or selling on Facebook Marketplace, if you have thoughts or tips as a consumer or as a seller, please share in the comments so that we can all learn more about doing this the best way possible and getting the most bang for our buck. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.